Superman and Huntress break into the Cadmus cell where Question is being tortured. As they are leaving, they are confronted by Captain Atom, who says that he is now following orders from the US government to stop Justice League. Soon after, without any hesitation, Captain Atom takes on Superman. In addition to his super strength, Captain Atom can produce red sun energy blasts that weaken Superman. As they fight, Huntress takes Question out of the building and calls the Watchtower for an emergency teleport, Superman having handed her his own comlink to do so. Captain Atom gives it everything he's got, but is no match for Superman's strength. Superman is forced to give him a severe beating, coming dangerously close to cracking his containment suit, before Captain Atom finally stays down. When Cadmus doctors arrive to see Captain Atom, Superman tells them to back off.
Don't you touch him! He's Justice League.
As Atom is a member of the Justice League. No one tries to interfere as Superman carries him out and back to the Watchtower. Superman visits Question, who is in the infirmary, who confesses that he was afraid Superman was coming close to killing Luthor. Superman insists that that would be impossible, although Question thinks otherwise. Superman tells Supergirl the truth about Emil Hamilton, and together they storm up to the bridge, ready to assemble a team to smash on Cadmus. But J'onn J'onzz and Green Arrow remind them exactly why they can't, because they are committed to upholding the law, and Cadmus may actually be a legitimate, albeit secret, branch of the government which on its own commits crimes. Working in his laboratory at LexCorp, Lex Luthor receives a call from Amanda Waller about the breakout. Seemingly unconcerned, Luthor strides to a targeting computer in his lab that has just beeped ready and presses Enter. The debate aboard the Watchtower is interrupted when the computer announces that the binary fusion cannon is preparing to fire. J'onn tries to override the system, but he is locked out. As a last resort, he tears the circuitry out of the control panel, but the system reroutes. Superman hurtles out of the station and to the mouth of the cannon, but is a split second too late. The laser fires down at Earth's surface. Down below, people are going about their daily lives, but pause when they see the sky light up. The beam lances down and hits an abandoned building marked Condemned. The building is vaporized and a massive shockwave ripples out, hitting the surrounding city with the force of an earthquake. Aboard the Watchtower, the discharge has drained the station's power for a whole hour. Even without sensors or communications, J'onn can tell that the League has fired on Cadmus's headquarters. Flash leads a rescue team down to the surface to help those caught in the shockwave. J'onn receives an angry call from the President of the United States on a special hotline, but swears that the League was not responsible for the blast. Afterwards, the President receives a call from Waller, revealing that the facility that was destroyed was empty. They evacuated an hour earlier because of the break-in by Superman. Waller advises the President in the strongest terms to order retaliation, but the President is reluctant to order retaliation and tells Waller to stand by. The League is at its best on the ground, rescuing people trapped by the devastation. But things turn ugly as rumors start to fly that the League fired the cannon at the ground. At Cadmus's new facility, Waller grows impatient and decides it's time to act. She orders a fully operational Galatea to take command of an army of Ultimen clones. Professor Hamilton installs a transmitter on Galatea's forehead, putting her in telepathic contact with the Ultimen. Waller appears, telling Galatea it is time. As she prepares to leave on her mission, Galatea stops, turns back, and gives Hamilton a goodbye hug, calling him Daddy. Totally unexpected. Aboard the Watchtower, they get back their communications, which allows them to speak with Flash, reporting from the surface that, mercifully, there are no fatalities. However, Flash also conveys that the public no longer trusts the League, blaming them for what happened. Seeing a news report of the devastation, Superman calls a meeting of the founders. He says they've lost the trust of the people, and Wonder Woman proposes making a gesture of cooperation. The founders announce to the rest of the League that they are temporarily giving themselves up for arrest until their innocence is proved. When called, Flash agrees to come too, but Batman vehemently refuses, despite Wonder Woman's pleas, preferring instead to track down those responsible for framing them.
This is the single dumbest plan I've ever heard.
Besides, he reminds the others that he never actually officially joined.
Actually, he took it a lot better than I'd expected.
6 of the 7 founders surrender themselves to the authorities.
Where's Batman?
Running late. The Batmobile? It lost the wheel. The Joker got away.
And that is so like the Dark Knight. Aboard the Watchtower, the systems detect a volley of incoming Damocles-class missiles, which deploy drill heads instead of explosive payloads. The missiles strike, boring into the hull and disgorging the Ultimen. Galatea follows, issuing 2 simple orders: clear her a path to the station's reactor room, and then kill everyone in the Watchtower. Inside Cadmus, Amanda Waller and General Eiling are watching the progress of the attack, when Batman appears, knocks out Eiling easily, and confronts Waller. He tells her that they've been keeping tabs on Cadmus for months, and would have known that the facility was empty when it was hit.
There are maybe 3 people on Earth smart enough to pull that off. 2 of them were already on the Watchtower, and that leaves...
The cannon was fired remotely, and out of the people capable of doing so, the only one not already on the Watchtower was Lex Luthor. Batman suggests that Waller start looking at him hard, then leaves, a direct threat issued by Batman. A full-scale battle rages inside the Watchtower. Even the human support staff, though told to stay sheltered, join in the fighting. As a group of Ultimen reach the infirmary, Huntress and Question join the fray, as does Captain Atom, still injured from his sickbed, having decided whose side he's on. Steel notices a danger signal from the reactor room and flies down to join Atom. As the League takes the upper hand, Supergirl breaks off and runs down to check. She finds Atom knocked unconscious and sees Galatea wiping the floor with Steel. Galatea wants to sabotage the reactor and blow up the Watchtower. They fight, but Supergirl is outmatched. Galatea is stronger and more aggressive than she is. As they fight, Supergirl goads her with the fact that she is not a real person, and Galatea becomes even more violent. Back at Cadmus, Waller has started looking at Luthor, and it has taken her an embarrassingly short time to discover that Batman was right. Luthor has been poaching copies of advanced Cadmus technology and shipping it to his laboratory at LexCorp. Hamilton makes a quick examination of the technology and confirms what Luthor's true plan is. They have all been deceived by Lex Luthor. Waller calls Galatea and orders her to cease the attack. Galatea, blind with rage and her desire to kill Supergirl, ignores the order. As she burns Supergirl with her heat vision, Steel awakens in time to fire a blast that drives her back. Reaching the end of the restart process, the power is restored. As Galatea charges, Supergirl rips out one of the reactor's huge power couplings and rams it into her stomach, pinning her with the power cable and feeding her a massive surge of electricity. Up on the bridge, the last of the Ultimen are defeated, and the League cheers for the power coming back on, but are quickly disappointed as the power goes off again. Seems like Supergirl has tripped off the main power supply by decommissioning her clone, Galatea, burnt and catatonic on the floor. In his laboratory, Luthor has finished his great project, an android body based on the design of a Mazo, but with his own likeness. He intends to transfer his consciousness into the android, but Batman confronts him before he can begin. Batman attempts to destroy the android, but Luthor intercepts and crushes his explosive batarang. They briefly fight, but Luthor quickly subdues Batman and throws him out of the window with his mysterious super strength. Before he can hit the ground, however, Batman is rescued. Meanwhile, Luthor has hooked up his equipment and is ready to begin the consciousness transfer. Just before he throws the transfer switch, Waller appears with a nano-disassembler beam cannon and with one shot disintegrates the android. Luthor rages that Waller has ruined weeks of hard work, but she declares him to be under arrest for framing the League and attempting to kill everyone at Cadmus. Backing Waller up, the 7 founders of the Justice League enter the room. Superman tells Luthor that it's over. Outnumbered and out of options, Luthor still refuses to give up, but suddenly interrupts himself with a scream of pain. He falls to the floor, his body mutating into a tentacled, top-heavy monstrosity with a familiar 3-dot triangle on his chest. Brainiac. The monstrosity has returned. Inside LexCorp, the Justice League's 7 founding members and Amanda Waller have just been treated to the bizarre sight of Brainiac inside Lex Luthor's body, but no one is more surprised than Luthor himself. Having had enough exposition, the League attacks, but the Luthor-Brainiac hybrid knocks the League and Waller out of the building. Superman fights the hybrid, but it is able to convert the building into mechanical constructs, with which he eventually overpowers the League, planning to digitize any individual knowledge they have, then delete their physical forms. But J'onn J'onzz phases free of the restraints and smashes Brainiac's body, freeing the League. As his final move, Brainiac converts the entire top of the LexCorp tower into an enormous skull-like robot ship and attacks again. The Justice Leaguers swarm and attack on the ship at all sides before the combined power of Superman and Green Lantern destroy the ship. It seems the threat is over, but Batman immediately claims the fight was too easy, and the League realizes the attack was only a diversion, and Luthor Brainiac is nowhere to be found. Under Brainiac's control, Luthor is walking along a sewer several miles away, looking for a place where he can stop and repair himself. Luthor points out that Brainiac's programming is devoid of purpose. Its ultimate end is simply for him to digitize, then destroy the entire universe. Luthor says he can show Brainiac a higher purpose by providing him a trait he lacks: imagination. In conference with Waller, the League deduces that Brainiac's body is entirely nanotechnological now. He will go to Cadmus to harness the power of the Dark Heart. They call the Watchtower for backup, but the base, which was viciously ambushed by the Ultiman clones and the heroes who would have been able to help out, are stuck, as the teleport systems are still down. Batman concludes that the 7 founding members are all that are left. Sure enough, as soon as they arrive, Brainiac and Luthor have done just what they feared and absorbed the Dark Heart's nanotechnology. Newly empowered, a new entity is created, a true fusion of Luthor and Brainiac, which has created a machine that will enable them to instantly absorb and destroy all the knowledge stored on Earth, and then the universe. Except they will now be able to remake the universe to their liking. To fight the League, Luthor Brainiac conjures up android replicas of the Justice Lords, each of which battles its counterpart and goads them with their worst fears and insecurities. Superman's fear in normal humans that his power inspires, Green Lantern's heartbreak, Shair Hul's status as an outcast, both on Thanagar and Earth, Flash's immaturity compared with the rest of the League. They are all resistant to the goading and defeat their doppelgangers. The League then successfully destroys the machine, but Luthor Brainiac is still too powerful for them. All of them are knocked unconscious by energy beams, but Flash dodges the attack, though it does knock him off balance. Luthor Brainiac creates guards out of nanotech and prepares to kill Flash in a manner similar to President Luthor's dark deed, but Flash vibrates free of his restraints and is left standing alone against Luthor Brainiac. Luthor Brainiac taunts him, and Flash hesitates, then streaks away. Luthor Brainiac begins reassembling his machine, but Flash hurtles at him from the opposite direction, invoking the Speed Force, running at speed so fast that he circled the globe in only a few seconds, and hitting Luthor Brainiac with enough force to tear away a chunk of their android armor. Flash makes his fastest run ever, circling the world faster and faster each time, hitting the fused villain harder and harder each time. Then Flash stops, his body crackling with the speed energy he's tapped into, and applies his vibrating hands to Luthor Brainiac's armor, tearing it completely away, and leaving Luthor naked and helpless at the bottom of a crater. As the League regains consciousness, Flash stands, unsteady, and then fades completely away, to the horror of his teammates. Luthor weakly gloats that he had indeed killed Flash, but now is the moment of truth for an enraged, grieving Superman. He seizes Luthor, and his eyes glow red. Wonder Woman moves to intervene, but Batman stops her, as this is Superman's decision. Superman's eyes return to normal, and he releases his grip on Luthor, to the villain's genuine surprise. At the end of the day, Superman is not a Justice Lord, no matter how much he wishes he could do what that one did at this moment. Then Jean shouts that Flash is alive, and he can sense Flash telepathically. Shaira reaches in the direction Jean is pointing, and her hand touches a portal to the Speed Force, into which Flash has been taken. From within, Flash is enraptured with the realm, which is calling him home, and wants to give in to it. Alarmed, Shaira shouts for him to resist it and seizes his hand, and all 6 Leaguers form a chain with Batman as the anchor. It takes all their combined strength and will to pull Flash back into reality. Flash mentions if he ever goes that fast again, he won't be able to come back. A short distance away, a relieved Waller tells the president to call off the airstrike against Brainiac. The next day, Superman addresses a crowd in Metropolis, including the members of the expanded League, the Watchtower support crew, the press, and various citizens. He says the League has been guilty of arrogance and has alienated the people it was trying to protect, and the founders have decided to disband the League and decommission the Watchtower. In the silence that follows, the founders begin to dismount the stage, and Green Arrow steps forward and delivers his own compelling speech to Superman, telling him that no matter what, especially after their victory against Luthor and Brainiac, they are still heroes and needed greatly, particularly Superman. This speech is greeted with applause from the crowd. Superman turns to Batman, who smiles and gives the Man of Steel an encouraging nod. It is a turning point for Superman, after so many years, gaining the trust of the common man. Happily bowing to the crowd's pressure, Superman agrees that the League will stay in service, but they will have to make changes to ensure they remain in touch with the people, and suggests that they could start by opening an embassy on Earth. As Superman goes on, Batman excuses himself and throws a verbal wink to Green Arrow, who has justified Batman's reasons for recruiting him in the first place. With all the heroics from the brave members, the world will prevail under the care and protection by the Justice League for when the hard times come. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the elites of the League will fight to their very end, even on their own, to make sure they protect the people of Earth, just like Flash did, even at the very jaws of defeat. That's what makes them the greatest ever. Thank you, Justice League. We salute you. And that's the story, heroes. This is Second Look, where great stories deserve another look. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Have an amazing day.